Hi everyone, welcome to week 13-14. This is our final lecture for this class. I just want to say overall, it's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I know it's been a challenging semester. Many of you are working with lots of circumstance beyond your control, so thank you so much for working so hard in this class. All right, let's get it done, okay? So for your final weeks, this is what you need to do. Start off by watching this last lecture where I will give you tips on how to complete this information. Your first draft is due on 12/7, okay? 12/7. Do not be late on that date because, and that's your full draft, okay? You don't want to be late because then you won't get feedback from me, okay? Your self-review and your writing center appointment is due by 12/11. So you want to go ahead and make that writing center appointment now so you have one scheduled. They have a flexible schedule, so please make sure that you choose a time that works for you. Your final draft is due on 12/14, okay? That is also the final deadline for you to turn in any and all of your work that you're doing. I will not accept work after 12/14, okay? So let's go over the last week of our writing assignment. So last week we talked about choosing a topic. So you did some pre-writing techniques on 3 major themes in Citizen, and you chose one of those to write a 5 to 6 argumentative essay and develop a thesis statement. And hopefully you remember that thesis statement is a roadmap for the rest of your paper. So important. That's the most important sentence you're going to write in your paper. If for some reason you're stuck on this step and you haven't been able to get past it, you should definitely stop by my office hours or stop by the Writing Center for some help on how to write a thesis statement. Also, don't forget, last week I posted a whole sheet on how to write a thesis statement, and a few weeks ago I did a lecture on how to write a thesis statement. So lots of resources out there for you, okay? Hopefully you've already done your research. This is a link to the Napa Valley College Library. Last week I went over how to do searches in Credo. This is a database that you're going to be clicking on. If you click on databases and scroll down, you'll see Credo. And what you want to do is find at least 5 sources about your topic. You're going to download or print out your sources and then actively read your sources and take notes. Yes, you will need to show this work when you turn in your paper. You are going to review Citizen for quotations and that help you, that support your whatever you're arguing in your paper, okay? And then you're going to draft your paper. So your argumentative research paper needs to be 5 to 6 full pages long, okay? You're going to argue one main theme found in Citizen and why it's important, okay? So for example, microaggressions are sometimes more damaging than macroaggressions when it comes to racism because oftentimes those acts go unnoticed and unchecked. I would argue in my paper that this is the most important theme in Citizen because, and I would look up information about microaggressions and use that to support what I'm saying. When you use evidence in a paper, you're using quotations, right? You're using words from someone else's work. Before you use that work, you need to tell us where it's coming from. For example, you could say in the Encyclopedia Britannica, in the article entitled Microaggressions, one sees, or they state, and then you could say what they state. And then afterwards, you can talk about how that quotation relates to the point that you're making in your paper. Your paper must be formatted in MLA format. Now, I've gone over MLA format a great deal, but if you still have questions, please make sure you reach out to me. I will also put a link to a MLA formatted paper under the assignment for this week. You've already turned in, hopefully, your pre-writing, your thesis, and your subtopics and sources. That was due 12/2. Now you're working on your full draft, and that is due on 12/7. So just 4 days from now. Your self-review and your writing center appointment are going to be due on the 11th. And then your final draft will be due on 12/14. Just to review, the basic structure of an argumentative essay. There's an introduction. That's 1 to 2 paragraphs that begin with a hook. Last week in my lecture, I talked about what a hook is and how to use it, right? Remember, it's something that grabs the reader and makes us want to read. Then you're going to tell us the history of the topic, frame your argument, and then clearly state your thesis. Your body paragraphs are 3 to 5 paragraphs. Each body paragraph should introduce a subtopic, support that subtopic with evidence that relates back to the thesis. That evidence can be from Citizen, or it can be from the articles that you found in Credo, okay? Then your conclusion is where you're going to restate all the main points that you made in your paper. You're going to restate the evidence that you've used to prove your points. And then you're going to end by reinforcing your message and sharing your final thoughts on the topics. Please don't write I believe or I feel, okay? This is where you're going to show what you've proven, okay? You also need a works cited page, and we're going to take a look at that right now, hopefully. So this is a sample works cited page. You'll see that there is the words works, plural, cited, okay? You'll see there are entries here underneath in alphabetical order. So Dean, and they're listed, the authors of the article are listed last name, comma, first name, okay? This is the title of the article. It's found in the New York Times, which is a newspaper. Newspapers and periodicals should be italicized. Books would be italicized as well. Articles, though, are in quotation marks. And this is the date of the newspaper. This is the URL and the date that it was accessed. Okay? This is a movie, An Inconvenient Truth, that's being listed here. Lots of different ways. So over here on the left-hand side, you see MLA formatting and style guide. So that's a great example of what to look at, what your page should look like. MLA in-text citations, the basics. MLA formatting quotations. MLA cited page, basic format. We're on the works cited page right here. Here's a sample paper, so you can take a look at what it looks like. But the format for books is something right here. So if you scroll down, it tells you the general format for books, okay? If you have a periodical, here's a general format for a periodical, okay? Or a newspaper article, here it is. Or a review, or an editorial, and letter to the editor, anonymous articles, or an article in a scholarly journal. Lots of sources here, okay? Just find it underneath that. If you can't find it, send me an email, and I will help you, okay? Let's go back to the presentation. So, your works cited page does not count as part of your page count. I'm going to know if you've watched this lecture because I will know if your page 5 is a works cited page, and you will lose a lot of points for that. So don't do it, okay? Now, the next step you're going to be doing is your, after you get your draft done, you're going to go, remember, you're going to go to your, to the writing center. Remember to make your appointment now that you're watching this lecture instead of later when there's no appointments left, okay? Then after you turn that in, you're also going to do a self-review. This is something that should take 1 to 2 hours on your own. You will go through your paper and read it aloud, sentence by sentence. And I'd like you to follow Peter Elbow's advice. Look for places where you stumble or get lost in the middle of a sentence. These are obvious awkwardnesses that need fixing. Look for places where you get distracted or even bored, where you cannot concentrate. These are places where you probably lost focus or concentration in your writing. Cut through the extra words or vagueness or digressions. and get back to the energy. Listen even for the tiniest jerk or stumble in your reading, the tiniest lessening of your energy or focus or concentration as you say the words. A sentence should be alive, okay? Here's some practical advice for ensuring that your sentences are alive. You want to use forceful verbs. Replace long verb phrases with a specific verb. For example, replace she argues for the importance of the idea with she defends the idea. Okay? See how clean that is compared to the other one? Look for places where you use the same word or phrase twice or more in consecutive sentences, and look for alternative ways to say the same thing or for ways to combine the two sentences. Remember, thesaurus is your friend, okay? Cut out as many prepositional phrases as you can without losing your meaning. For instance, the following sentence, there are several examples of the issue of integrity in Huck Finn, would be much better this way. Huck Finn repeatedly addresses the issues of integrity. See? Cleaner. Check your sentence variety. If more than 2 sentences in a row start the same way, with a subject followed by a verb, for example, then try using a different sentence pattern. Aim for precision in your word choice. Don't settle for the best word you can think of at the moment. Use a thesaurus. Oh, did I mention thesaurus is your friend? Along with a dictionary to search for the word that says exactly what you want to say, okay? Look for sentences that start with it is or there are and see if you can revise them to be more active and engaging. Next thing I want you to look at is spelling. So please run your spell check, number 1. And then don't just rely on your computer spell check because it will not get everything, okay? And I want you to examine each word in your paper individually by reading carefully. Moving a pencil under each line of the text helps you see each word. If necessary, check a dictionary to see that each word is spelled correctly. Be especially careful of words that are typically spelled, that are typical spelling nightmares, like I-E, E-I-E words, and homonyms like your, or to, or there. Look for left out or doubled words. When you read the paper aloud slowly, it'll help you make sure that you haven't missed or that you have repeated words. You'll hear it. Then the third step is to look for grammatical errors. So look for fragment sentences. Make sure each sentence has a subject. In the following sentence, the subject is students. The students looked at the OWL website. Make sure each sentence has a complete verb. In the following sentence, were is required to make a complete verb. Trying alone would be incomplete. They were trying to improve their writing skills. See that each sentence has an independent clause, and remember that a dependent clause cannot stand on its own. The following sentence is a dependent clause that would qualify as a fragment sentence, which is why the students read all of the handouts carefully. That's an incomplete sentence. That's a fragment, okay? Run-on sentences. This is something that a lot of you guys do, okay? So I want you to pay attention to this. Fragments and run-ons is something that comes up a lot. And the most common one is the comma splice. Okay, so I want you to review each sentence to see whether it contains more than one independent clause. If there is, that means more than one subject and verb pattern, okay? If there's more than one independent clause, check to make sure the clauses are separated by the appropriate punctuation, like a period, okay? And then comma splices is where you stick two sentences together and with a comma. So just look for those, okay? If you have a sentence that contains 2 clauses, they should be connected with a comma and a conjunction like and, but, for, or, so, or yet, okay? And you could also use a semicolon instead with a word like however or something like that. Okay, subject-verb agreement, make sure that you find the subject of each sentence and that the verb that is used to work with that subject is the correct, is in agreement with that subject. Okay, they should match a number. Mixed construction is something I want you to look for, and that's when you read through your sentences carefully to make sure that they do not start with one sentence structure and shift to another. A sentence that does this is called mixed construction. Here's an example. Since I have a lot of work to do is why I can't go out tonight. Here's an edited version. Since I have a lot of work to do, I can't go out tonight. Parallelism. Look through your paper for a series of items and make sure these items are in parallel form. So here's an example. Being a good friend involves good listening skills, to be considerate, and that you know how to have fun. You see how awkward that feels? So you can edit it to say, being a good friend involves knowing how to listen, being considerate, and having fun. You see how they match up? That's why it flows better. Then pronoun reference agreement. So I want you to skim your paper, stopping at each pronoun in your paper. I want you to search for the noun that the pronoun replaces. If you can't find any noun, insert one beforehand or change the pronoun to a noun. If you can find a noun, be sure it agrees in number and person with your pronoun. Then apostrophes, I want you to skim your paper, stopping only at the words which end in S. And if the S is used to indicate possession, there should be an apostrophe, as in Mary's book. Look over the contractions, like your for you are, it's for it is. Each of these should include an apostrophe. Okay. After you finish your self-review, you're going to be turning it in. You're going to incorporate all of the feedback you've gotten on your paper, and then you are going to turn your final paper in by the 14th. But before you do all this, I would like you to take this little survey. It is to help us make this class even better. We value your feedback. This is a strange time to be teaching, as you probably imagine. And I know a lot of you are dealing with things outside of your control in your lives. So the more feedback you give us, the better. It's not about, I would certainly love for you to tell me if you see ways for me to improve as a teacher that would help you learn better. But you can just tell me that directly. This is about how to make this class the best that it can be for all sections. Okay? And if you it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to fill it out, and I'd really appreciate it if you could. All right, here's your final deadlines. Okay? Don't forget to turn in your makeup work by 12/14. That is the last day, you guys. I've been flexible, very, very flexible about deadlines this semester because of everything that's been going on, but that is the last date, no exceptions. So please make sure you pay attention to that. And that's 11 days away, you guys, so you're fine. You also need to have a review. You need to have your paper reviewed by someone at the Writing Center and complete a self-review before you turn it in. And that is due on the self-review and the Writing Success Center appointment is due by the 11th, and your final paper is due by the 14th. All right, in the spirit of Looney Tunes, which is what the semester has felt like, that's all, folks. It's been a pleasure working with you this semester. I really want to thank you for working so hard. And please know that I'm here to answer any questions. I have office hours on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday from 10:30 to 12, but I'm also here to answer emails if you have any. All right, guys, I'll see you online.